a little bit about you, Pastor Rios. What I know comes from our mutual friend, Greg Meekin,
Yes.
and I'm excited just to welcome you to the show. And what I do know about you, according to Greg, okay, he says, just 1 second, let me bring up my latest notes. He says that you and I and Greg, we all have in common, we love God with our whole heart.
Yep.
And I want you to start there because that pretty much says it all. We don't have to go into like, um, you know, anything else than just that place of that's everything. That's the link.
Yeah, and I think that's so amazing that you said that because, first of all, I want to apologize to you all that Greg had mentioned to me about getting him a bio, and I was last night thinking through that, and then um, just the course of Sundays are pretty long for us. I do pastor um, two campuses. We have a campus in Oxford, Mississippi, home of the Ole Miss Rebels and the epicenter of the world. We love this place. Um, and then we also started a second campus in Yapora, Mississippi, which is about 52 miles south of, uh, um, of Oxford. And it's near Starkville, which is about 30 miles from there. And so that's obviously a unique situation to be pastoring in two college town areas where they're big rivals. You know, you got Ole Miss versus Mississippi State, and it's truly a blessing. But Sundays are what we call Joshua team. We gather; it's our young ministers and young men. They gather at the church at 5 a.m. to start our Sundays off, and then by the time we get home on Sundays from the evening campus service, it's usually 10:30, 11. Then you unwind, and if it's anything like me and Greg Meekin, we're unwinding and sorting and just all the fun stuff, that comes with the day. And so I failed to get that biography to him. And then this morning we hit the ground running because um, in our journey of church planning, we've in that type of situation, you're coming in and it's an entrepreneurial situation. And I went from being full-time ministry for 16 years of my ministry journey to bivocational in the sense of starting having to generate revenue with a job, and so just trying to create that creativity of how to manage the care of a church and people and their needs, and being in a job situation, sometimes a 9 to 4 piece can be a challenge. And so a couple years ago, my son and I decided to jump into the whole suit industry, and we started a custom suit business, and that's been effective. So I'm helping him navigate that, and then time changes, right? It's sorting the time changes, and I said all that to say is how beautiful we've got to this point that at the end of the day, really, it doesn't matter what my bio is. It's the unique, amazing ability that at the end of the day, we all are passionate about God and just helping people and loving people and inspiring people. So it's an honor to be with you.
Amen to that. And I just want to say we are cruising at an altitude where there's just no pressure here. And paper doesn't float here. So
I
doesn't
love it.
matter what's on the paper. It's all about what we said is what it means to you when you love God with your whole heart, and why that's the everything space. And that's cool. I love that you spend time in prayer because that's a big thing. I didn't
Yes.
realize how effective that is until you start doing it, and that's where you're supposed to battle, right? Like um that's how I battle. So I start my mornings like that, and it's not always easy, but it's so important. So you guys are the men are doing that 5 a.m. Sundays, and that's powerful because that's opening the gates. I
Yeah,
love it.
it really is. And I think that's what we have found has been a really awesome, component to our gatherings, is just saying, okay, God, speak into our life. what would you have for us? What would you, what are you trying to say to us? Open up our ears. Let us be aware of, what you're trying to tell us in this day and age that we live in. The news is full of so much stuff. There's so many different things out there they're throwing at you, and all of the challenges that go with the journey of pursuing Jesus and the journey of
Hmm.
Christianity. And it's sometimes you just kind of find a place and block out the noise and try to position yourself to hear what he's trying to tell us. And what he's trying to tell us is he loves us, he cares about us, he's there for us. Restoration is what he's looking for to do in our lives, and healing. And we live in a very challenging world. We all have challenging situations in our lives, but it's just exciting to know that we have grace and mercy lent to us each and every day.
It's so true. And also just how real it is, in a world where there's so much fake and false teachings everywhere you look. You can
Hmm.
go into the education system, you can turn on your TV, all these areas that we're searching for to have all the information, and then it's just it doesn't leave you filled where you need to be filled. So I just see in Arizona, anyways, so many people are just having encounters with the living God. And I heard a report this morning on my 6 a.m. prayer call where a guy in the next community over had just walked away from God, and he was on a jog yesterday morning, and boom, he had this encounter with God. It was so real. He stopped him in his tracks. He was convicted. Um, he just laid all the shame down, and he just recommitted his life, went on Google, hit nearest church, which was like right in front of his house. He didn't know it was
Wow.
there, went in, and the pastor had changed his entire message while he was driving to the church and didn't realize, but he was ministering to this guy. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening in our little
That's awesome.
communities, since we've started with the prayer focused on our homes, our marriages, our schools, our law enforcement, our cultural stuff,
Hmm.
that we want God to just have his way. So cool. Greg, I'm gonna throw it to you. Um, where do you want to start? What have I missed so far? Because we've just really jumped in.
Well, as they say, isn't it fun or what? I mean, technically, I always joke about Twitter Spaces that usually take 5 to 10 minutes. It's a flaw in their process, but 5 to 10 minutes just to get a kind of everybody on and ready to go. And I'm sitting where all three of us are on, all three of us are ready to go, and that's pretty fun to me. As a side note here, Val and the pastor will bring this up. I'm guessing he's a little limited on time. He actually has to do another radio show. Cool. I'll have him plug this too. Jesus is my general. I think at the top of the hour, next hour. But either way, you can work that out. I just want to take a quick second and reintroduce or introduce our secret guest, who is Pastor Nathanial Rios, um, from the wonderful state of Mississippi. And
Yes, sir.
Pastor, I was. We'll talk a little Mississippi football sometime too, Pastor. But the where I first was really introduced to the pastor was he's a regular on Mike Phillips' show, a radio show, Mike Phillip with AmericanUckradio.com. And although I have a segment every week with Mike on Fridays, of course, Dueling Citizens with Greg Meekin, the pastor is also a regular on Mike Phillips' show. So I've been actually, it's funny, we've kind of become mutual fans because we listen to each other's radio shows. Our appearances mainly on Mike Phillips' show. So I've known of the pastor for months since the very beginning when he started doing segments on Mike's show. And as I said to him, I think on the phone or by text, he's one of those guys. I feel like I've known him for a couple of 100 years. You know what? You meet someone and you say, wow. But Pastor Nathaniel Rios, he's one of the good guys, and he is at risk of sounding secular here. He's one of the big guys in that he has a large flock, a large following, and he can tell you more about that. Maybe even bigger than he thinks or knows. But he's a man of impact. As you know, Val, I like to go to the top. That's my rule of thumb. And the more I listen to the pastor with Mike Phillip, the more I realize this guy's the real deal. This guy's a messenger for God. He relates to virtually everyone out there, as Val, you'll attest with me. Whatever you want to talk subject-wise, he relates to it. And he's just flat a good guy. He's preaching the word of God. He's teaching the word of God and doing it a fun way, a conversational way, etc. And so I'm just going to turn this kind of mic back to you and or the pastor here. I would encourage everybody to listen to the pastor here and listen to both of us as well, Val and me, and take note of where you can contact the pastor, how you can support his work, his mission. He's got a lot of irons in the fire because he is also a born entrepreneur, Val, and kind of a born writer, publisher kind of guy. So that's a reintroduction, and I'll give it back to you, Val. You are definitely the hostess with the mostest for sure, as far as running these long form radio shows, which is long form, commercial free, First Amendment. We say what we like here. We say what we like on Val Olson's Twitter Spaces show. So I'll turn it back to you.
That's right. God bless the USA. And okay, I just want to hear what Pastor Rios has to say. The floor is yours.
Well, I love this idea of the conversation and the interaction and the networking and the relationships, that are shaped and formed. And like Greg mentioned, it's like I feel like I've known him for years. Like I feel like I've known him my whole life, and it's just an amazing piece. I mean, even the opportunity to connect with you, Val, is just like amazing. I love the element of the high level talks and the free form, and that's really, I think, my world in the space of pastoring that I fall into is just being what we would call in our arenas, being spirit led, like letting God move us. Like, what would you have us to say? I'm all about preparation. I'm all about being prepared, and I try to do my best and set aside time as a pastor to prepare a sermon. But I think the key to if you want to say success, I don't even know if I like to use that word in my space as a pastor, but helping people move towards God and understand the values of who God is in our lives. Is really just built on relationships and finding that common thread that I think secures a relationship. I think one of the funny things about um, me and Greg is he just kind of found a space, and all right, we're talking, and then somehow football come up, and he's like a Seahawks fan and I'm a 49er fan, and we're like talking, and we're not necessarily talking spirituality. We're not talking Jesus. We're not talking God. We're just trying to find a common space where we land as two human beings. And next thing you know, we're talking about, man, the Seahawks playing the 49ers. And we start talking that conversation. And next thing we know, we're like, well, you know what? Man, if the Seahawks and the 49ers make the playoffs, then we're going to go and we're going to watch the game together. And next thing you know, last night we're sitting there watching the game. Detroit's got to beat Green Bay. And next thing you know, Detroit comes out of nowhere, beats Green Bay in Lambeau Field. And guess what? Seahawks and 49ers are playing in the playoffs. I said, well, Greg, it's got to be a Saturday because, Sundays I got to be in church. Well, guess what? They're playing on a Saturday. And so me and Greg are supposed to be in the stands in Seattle. Now, I've got one small problem, and that's where I think I get myself going so much and so excited and so involved and wanting to be just connected with the world and people that my 17-year-old boy turns 18 on the 15th. And so we started a little deal with our family, just a little bit of who I am in my family space. I've got a wife and 5 boys. 5 boys. Yes, they were
Wow.
all 4 efforts to try to have one girl, and but I got 5 boys. They're 19, 17, 16, 14, and 7, and it's a wonderful time at our house. It's so loud. It's so chaotic. It's so crazy with 5 boys. But we started this little deal like when they turn 10 and they enter into the tens, the double digits figure. I take them on a trip. It's very crazy. It's just you got one big rock. You fly to the city. You don't have any controlled plans. It's just we're just going to do something fun. And I got the inspiration for that trip from Bob Goff. I don't know if you've heard of Bob Goff.
Yes, I have.
Love does wonderful book, wonderful concept, and he shared that he would take his kids when they turn 10 on trips because he said trips are very valuable to memories, and gifts can sometimes get kind of lost in the shuffle. And so I said, well, I love that idea, but I want to make it a little bit unique to our family. So when the boys turn 10, they go on a trip with me. It's very very fun and organic, and I would love to come do a show on the trips because they're awesome. But when they turn 16, they go on a trip with their mother, and so it's kind of like they're taking her on a date, and she's talking to them how to treat a woman, and talking through, and it's a special moment for the mom and her son. And then when they turn 18, they take we take mom and dad take them on a trip the day of their birthday. It's right on their birthday. It's not like a week before or after. It's on their birthday. So that day we're celebrating together. Mom and dad take them on a trip, and then when they turn 21, they'll take me and mom on a paid trip. So
That is
we
so
kind of
cool.
flip the script. Now my oldest, he is a tightwad. He's 19, gonna be 20. He told us when he's going to take us to Batesville, which is about 30 miles from Oxford, and take us to Cracker Barrel for dinner. But so, Greg, the problem I have is I just completely forgot that I'll be on that trip with him. So I'm working on a way to try to put Greg and his wife in the seats in Seattle to enjoy that game. So that's the cool thing is just like, we found common ground in a conversation in life. And next thing you know, man, I just called Greg on Saturday and like, hey, Greg, I got this book idea. What do you think? A couple days ago, I called Greg and said, Greg, you know what? You got a strength in writing. I love the concept. I'm working on a book right now. Look, I'm going to send it to you. I want you to look through it. And there's like this instant trust. And I think that's what our world has lost. It's lost that element of trust and relationships. And so how do we start a revolution?
Wow, that is you're so right. And it starts with trust. And how do you establish trust, rapport instantly with someone because you typically our guards are up from past
Yes.
experiences.
hmm
Yeah.
And that's what I shared with him. Even when I've got this book idea. It's been marinating, and I've got a lot of it done. And I thought, this man's wrote a book, and I don't know who he is other than the show and what we got. And I've been kind of holding on this. And I had some ideas that I've thrown out there, and people have kind of taken them and worked them. And I'm like, well, man, that was my idea. That's great, but you're just trying to find that space of connection to adding to the world. How do I help somebody? I mean, everything that I've been through, how do I help somebody? And that was a challenging piece because when I was 12 years old, I was talking about this the other day with, trying to work through hurt and loss. And I, I've built a relationship with a guy by the name Harris. He does a really cool story conversation in Nashville. If you've never heard him, Harris the Third, look him up. The story conference they do in Nashville, unbelievable stuff. And so we were kind of talking through, like we go back to our childhood and we deal with trauma and we deal with life and we deal with frustration, we deal with hurt, and we never figure out how to sort through that trauma because who's, at 12 years old going to be sitting down sorting trauma? It's just you got hurt, you got pain, but you never worked through that. And so when I was 12 years old, my brother was 21. We were best friends. Like, how many how many siblings are out there that, the 21-year-old is wanting to take the 12-year-old to be his chaperone on a date? Like, that's not happening, right? But that was our relationship. He was like, "Hey, bud," my dad's like, "Hey, you need a chaperone to go out with this girl." I'm like, "Okay, come on, Nate, you're gonna be that, guy, the little brother." And so, you know, we had a bond. We had a deep relationship, and I was 12, he was 21. He got in an accident at work and fell off a forklift and passed away in a tragic accident. My world was just shattered. Like, my best friend's gone, my brother, and so not really realizing what I was sorting and dealing with. I got involved with my youth group, and I just wanted to try to help people, and so I started helping people. And then next thing you know, I'm 19, and I took my first ministry position as a youth pastor at 19, and I'm helping to create and help students. And then I merge into that, end up in Texas, and then next thing you know, I'm speaking all over the country. Conferences, thousands, 10,000 youth workers, and I'm trying to help them. Um, in a small town of Mississippi, running a large youth group, just plowing, helping people. But I did not have space or really realize where I needed to find um, uh, the wherewithal to work through the hurts. And so it wasn't until I was, I think, 36. We came to Oxford, Mississippi to plant the church. And my other brother, he was right above me in age, passed away and drowned in Lake Tahoe. And I was like, oh my Lord, I kind of reached this point of, man, what am I doing? How do I get through this? And then I started kind of reflecting that I never grieved. I never walked through those moments of healing as a 12-year-old. I just tried to deflect them by helping others. And
Right.
I wasn't finding space for myself. And then finally I reached this point where I am just, walking into a potential nervous breakdown. I'm like, I've never healed from all these years, but I was so focused in helping others. And then I finally, like, it resonated. I'm like, well, I need to grieve, and I need to walk through this. And that's when all of a sudden I just started finding that healing. But I think that, you know, you gain that space and you find that healing. And then next thing you know, you can start finding yourself in a trust situation where, I called Greg up and I said, "Hey, man," I said, "Look, I need your help on this project. And I'm not even worried about if you take and do something with it."
I love that. I love that because it's kind of like the heart and the brain connection, and you put them together, you let them work together, and you're right. Doesn't matter, the outcome. You just walk in that. You walk it
That's,
out.
that's right.
So, I want to talk a little bit about a connection that you and Greg have. I did hear Greg talk about it on Dueling Citizens, sorry. And it has to do with Mike Phillip and the goal that's been set. Um,
You want me
tell
to
me what.
handle that one, Val?
Well, let me read it here. Oh, sorry. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I got ahead of myself, Greg. Go ahead. Explain it for us.
You know me. Remember, we have one old baby boomer here, right? Greg Meekin. We have two Gen X's on the line. That's Val Olson and Pastor Nathaniel Rios. So you can call me the old man of the mountain. Or you can call me middle-aged man. I just need to do one quick. I'm going to update the pastor seriously, live, real time, quick update on the 49ers game on Saturday. Pastor, I think he might have misunderstood, but I was giggling. I was giggling when uh, I'd found out that actually the Seahawks were playing the 49ers on Saturday, and I giggled because I said it's the first Saturday that I'm unavailable, completely unavailable, probably the last 3, 4, 5 years on Saturday, and that is because my wife, my dear wife Deborah, is going in for full hip replacement tomorrow, Tuesday. So prayers out there, everybody. but tomorrow. And so I will be for the next 2 weeks, Val and Pastor. I will be driving Miss Daisy, and I'll be being a little houseboy. I can't go to San Francisco if I try. By the way, the game's in San Francisco. And secondly, he won't mind me sharing this, is I'd asked him this morning if he had any access to tickets to that game. Right, Pastor?
That's right.
And the pastor thought I was looking for those tickets for me and my wife because we've all been busy this morning. I'm looking for those tickets if possible because the pastor is very connected with the San Francisco 49ers. It could be one ticket or it could be two, but the one, it is for a gentleman that I wanted to surprise right out of the blue who works for a car dealership up in Seattle, who is the most hardcore San Francisco 49ers fan since the Joe Montana days. And he's a fellow Gen Xers of you. But if the pastor was able to secure a ticket or two, I kid you not, because I can't go, the pastor can't go. But I was going to give this gentleman who's a dear friend of mine a phone call and let him know that he's going. And all he has to do is buy a plane ticket down there to San Fran and hotel. And he would like be pulling out his credit card for the airfare in the hotel, and he can afford it. He's a top level manager in the state of Washington in the auto industry. So I just wanted to update the pastor on that. Also, I needed to update the pastor on the fact that he has 5 boys. Okay, I'm tired even listening to that. Okay, 5 boys. And I wanted to give, I love this, live on air, reach out to the pastor for inside scoop. I have 3 boys, which he might or might not know. I have an older son, and I have twin boys who are 33. They are millennials / Gen Y. And they're 33, and I'm still worn out from raising them, by the way. But after the twins were born, long story, but after they were born, I took my wife aside because God love her. Pastor, get this, Val, get this. She's my hero. She was 39 years old when she gave birth to those twins. One of them, the big one, was 9 pounds. The little one was 7 pounds. End of story. And I asked her a question probably a week or two later. Hey, honey, we never had a girl. We never had a little girl. That was my goal in life, right, in my mind. And she looked at me, true story. And she said, Greg, sure. You can have a little girl with another wife, pal, with another wife. So I wanted to share that. And otherwise, I really do. I completely kick it back to the awesome host, Val Olson, to the pastor in Rios, and just go from there because I am really enjoying listening to you two chat. And I'll have my moments, as you just saw, but I'd like to sit back and listen to you guys chat. If either of you have any questions, you let me know. But also, the pastor, I think, is one of the human beings in North America who actually has a copy of my book, too. So I'm not going to let him forget that. So there you go. Back at you. Back at you. I'm sitting back. I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm having a blast because I see a connection between Val Olson and Pastor Nathanial Rios.
Thanks, Greg. I'm so enjoying just hearing what's on Pastor Rio's heart and all that he's doing. So I don't want to take too much time asking any
I'm sorry
questions
too.
and
I'm
rather
interrupting you. I have to. You asked about Mike Phillip. I can't
yes.
believe it. See, I got off track. on December 1st, I was listening to Mike Phillip, my favorite radio guy in the whole world. Up north, Val Olson's my favorite radio gal down south, and he was chatting with Pastor Nathanial Rios, as they always do. And Mike Phillip put out a prayer right there on live radio. And he said, my teeth are all screwed up. He's very honest about it. Got broken teeth, missing teeth, blah, blah. I'm going in for an emergency abscess surgery. And he put a prayer up there, whether he knows it or not, of that he wanted he wanted a nice, happy smile one day or somehow. And I took kind of the ball and ran with it. I emailed Mike and the pastor live on the air, or at least when they were on the air. And I said, okay, let's do a fundraiser. I'm thinking this might cost $10,000-12,000 to completely replace Mike Phillips' teeth. And I ran it by the pastor. He loved it. He and I both committed to the first $100 each to contribute to the fund. But I'll leave that back literally that my at least mission today is accomplished, because hopefully by the end of this week or so, we'll have a concrete fundraiser produced. We'll probably be using, I'll let the pastor talk about that initially as a fundraising tool, funding vehicle. But I'll just kind of leave it at that. And Mike Phillip, as we speak, he will laugh at this. His homework for me was to give me a number of what his teeth are going to cost, whether it's full implants or whatever. Is it 10 grand? Is it 15 grand? Whatever. And I'll leave again. Now that I've introduced it, the Happy Smiles version of the show that I wanted to get to, and I wanted to get to it for my dear friend Mike Phillip. He's a dear friend, and I wanted to let him know that God hears prayers, no matter what. He hears them. We haven't put the deal together yet, but the homework at his end is get me a number. How much does it cost to give you a perfect smile? So there you go. I'm all done. Now I'll be able to sit back and try not to interrupt you anymore, Val.
Okay, well, you're talking about the Happy Smiles Fund, soon to launch. And Pastor Rios, anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's what is so beautiful about, again, the relationship and the network and the connection and the camaraderie. When Mike Phillip had talked about this, and he's so passionate, is an incredible guy. And I actually came in contact with him. I was sorting a kidney stone, and I do not wish that on anybody. And so was really down on my body, and was just laying in bed one day trying to rest and work through this. And I just jumped on Rumble and was kind of sifting through. I went to Stu Peters' Rumble page, and there was this really kind of cool, um, uh, you know, um, logo there. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got to click on this. And so I, obviously took the bait, right? And so I click on it, and it's this guy in a cowboy hat and a black leather jacket, and he is just just fired up. And I'm like, man, this guy's okay. I got to take this in. And so I, I started taking in, and he just kind of resonated. He was just kind of talking through some stuff, and it just resonated. So I reached out to him, and he responded. Next thing you know, we're on the phone talking. And I think what is so cool about his journey is, and what I even feel about, you, and even the short connection with you, Val, is just the sincerity of the work that's being done through media, and, providing this space for people to connect with. And, he's just kind of there for the people, and providing,
Hmm.
a voice for people to hear, and he does it well. And so when he did share that, I'm sitting there thinking, well, man, how can I help? And then we got the email from Greg, and I think, learning Greg's story, and his time there in Seattle, working so hard to get a hockey element there, and just the cool story. If you have not got his book, you need to get his book. It's just a great read. It's a great, just a great piece for people to connect with, and fun stories, but yet talking about how do we make change in our world. And so when he pitched the idea of the Happy Smiles piece, I just kind of thought it was a really cool gesture of, people giving to support a man that, I mean, he's got in the space of, video. And when you're behind the radio, you're not really visually seen. But when you kind of go live on video, and you're in a space where you're being seen, there is some element there to uh, presentation. And so I just thought it was a really neat space that, Greg would venture to try to start a cause to help with this. And so We're going to be launching this campaign, and we'll be using our church as a landing space. Wellspring Community Church in Oxford. We'll be using our church as a landing space, and every dollar, 100% of everything that's given, will go to helping bless someone that has just been giving of his time and energy to be a voice for people, and a space for people to come listen and enjoy, and he could be doing a mainstream shock and awe show that's trying to create huge ratings and different things. But he's chosen to take a space and share the love of Jesus, and focus on Bible studies. And
Mm-hmm.
he does have opportunities like with Greg coming in with the dueling citizens, which I love and I think is a great addition to what he does. But it's really just neat to be a part of people that are saying, hey, we want to do something special for someone that is dedicated in helping others.
It's so cool. And Mike really is a very, very special pastor. And I listen to his show. But more than that, behind the scenes, he really does take the time. And I can say he's very giving of what he has. And that's to me one of the big things is the authenticity, and it truly is there. And what you see on the air, it's bigger behind that, and he does make that personal connection and take the time with people, and I think that's going to be the next wave of what media is like. It's
Yeah.
not just propaganda, and I mean, I'm trained in that, and when you see how it's been misused and just how wrong it really truly is. When God woke me up, I just thought, how can he possibly take this and make it good? And it's just the authenticity part of being authentic. And that's really truly who Mike is. And I love that. It's inspiring for me as a broadcaster to see when God fixes and restores what he can do with that. So I hope those of you that are listening or that have the financial ability to support Happy Smiles Fund, that you do that. So where can we go to make our donations?
So we are working on, just like Greg said, finalizing all of that. And I don't know if we could maybe find some space here again, Val, for your listeners, to just check back in and say, hey, it's live, it's ready to go. Uh,
Absolutely. This space is open and 24/7. It is available to you, to Greg, to whoever wants to come and broadcast at wherever we
uh,
are.
that's so neat. And
Always.
I wanted to kind of just really highlight a point that you said that I think even connects me with you, hearing your voice and having this time with you. But the fact that you said that Mike is bigger off the radio is so true. And I think that is what you and others that are leads in the media arena, that have, like you mentioned, have been trained and have been, taught how to sort data and information and all that goes on. But I think creating that bigger than life situation when you come off the show and you're down to just being that person is having that relationship with people that makes them feel special, makes them feel um, you know connected to a bigger picture. And so once we get that finalized, we just kind of been, and it's my fault. It's not Greg's. He's on the ball. But I got myself a little journal planner scheduler, Greg, that I'm writing in better more. And when I jump on that plane today to California, I will be having all that stuff finalized. And here's a cool piece. Um, Tuesday morning, I'm on a plane to Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but I will be there for about 4 hours, dropping off a suit to a Major League Baseball player and then flying back to LA. But how far are you guys from Phoenix?
Probably about an hour,
Okay.
hour-ish. Yeah. Greg?
Boy, that sounds like a date to me, Pastor.
How
Uh,
are you
we'll uh, we'll be there. I'll get permission, as a good husband does, from my wife, or maybe I'll see if I can bring her up there.
Well, when is
But I'm on the program. I'm on the program. Even if it's meeting with you for 10 minutes, Pastor.
when is
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
when is her surgery?
See, her surgery is tomorrow, Tuesday. At it is at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time. 11:30 a.m. I will be honest with you. She's pretty stressed. God love Deborah. She's like me. We're getting a little older, and this is her first full hip replacement. She really. I'll try not to get emotional here. She's really struggled for probably the last 3 to 5 years walking, and after she gets her first hip, I went through it 8 months ago, so I'm able to literally. I'm like a midwife of hip replacement. When she gets the first one replaced, she'll have the second one as soon as possible, probably in the spring. And I told her, because of this technology, hip replacements are routine now. She's going to come like the next Christmas. She's going to have two brand new hips, and she's going to be able to walk. I'm serious. Walk her dog for her signature 2, 3, 4, 5 mile walks, which she used to do up in Washington State. She'll be able to do that for the first time in probably 5 years. So that's the story right there. That's why
Well,
I can, even if you Federal Express me a couple of ringside seats to the San Francisco 49ers. Sorry, Pastor, I can't make it. I got my wife to take care of.
yeah. So what hospital or is the surgery? Where's the surgery at?
She is her surgery is with a wonderful group. Healthcare gets a lot of bad rap. Okay, I'll do a whole episode on this. She's at Banner, Banner. She's with Banner Hospital Group in Casa
Okay.
Grande, Arizona. They're fabulous. So there
So
you go.
that's about an hour from Phoenix, isn't it?
Yes, sir. If you drive normally, it's probably literally from the hospital itself, or I'm sorry, the hospital is 40 minutes, 40 minutes ish. Or if
I'll,
you drive the way I normally drive, probably half hour because I like to get it up on the highway there. As that that how that goes.
well, I'm gonna have some time on the ground, so I believe I'm gonna try to drive to the hospital where you're at.
No,
Yeah.
no, we're talking tomorrow, Pastor.
I'll be in Phoenix tomorrow.
Oh, okay. This is called breaking news. Okay. I'll get my Kleenex out first, and then I'll let you guys talk for a little while again. Okay.
I'll be there to pray with her.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Okay, Val. I'll turn it back to you. My God, that's incredible. Thank you for that, Pastor. Thank you for that, Pastor. The most fun blessings in life are the ones that come out of the blue. Out of the blue.
How do you even plan? Like,
Are
how
you? I'm stunned. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. I'm stunned.
I,
Just like the pastor. I kid you not. This is, and I won't minimalize this, but that's like the pastor. Kid you not. He wasn't. I don't think he was expecting it. I kid you not. He got one of my books right out of the blue, and I think it was a really good surprise because he wasn't expecting it. It's when you're not expecting it that God gives the greatest blessings that He's ever given to us. So there you go. I'm emotional. Here we go. I got to turn it back to you, Val, before I have to get my Kleenex out.
I can't even, oh, sorry, I've got to read point two because it's really funny. You may or may not know I'm an obsessive fact checker. Is it true that you and Greg were in touch personally right after the show where Mike put up a prayer for his new smile, the new teeth?
absolutely. I mean, it was just amazing. I think that is what is so cool about this concept of spirit led, walking in the spirit, and just trusting the process. My original plans was to fly. I've got to fly to LA. I've been commissioned by my son to go out there and take care of some clients. And so he's also working with agent and who has an MLB player there that's getting married, and he needed a suit. So we're taking it out there, delivering it to him. He's getting married on the 14th. So we're while I was out in LA, I was gonna get in a flight. Well, I was trying to get back to LA sooner, and so originally the flight I was trying to get left like at 5 in the morning to Phoenix, and then you had an hour, I think, 2 hours on the ground, which is all I needed, and then I was just going to be back on the plane, fly back to LA. But for some reason, I could not get the flight to work out, and it was just kind of it was all kinds of challenges. I was trying to use some credits and different things, just would not work out. And so the next thing I know, I had to work out, and I got a flight that put me on the ground for longer in Phoenix. So now I'm flying out later in the afternoon, and I'm going to have downtime sitting in Phoenix. And so now I'm on a interview with Greg Meekin, find out his wife's surgery on Tuesday, and it's only an hour away, which is going to give me plenty of time to get there, get back, drop the car off. And now, I mean, you can't make this up. Like, it all falls into place. Why now? Had to get the ticket that was flying later versus the quick turnaround. I mean, and that's, I think, the just the beauty of when you give yourself to God and let Him lead you and guide you, that He creates these moments.
That's so cool. I was thinking you were talking next week, so I was trying to like track this at next week, but I forgot. Right. It's
Yeah,
Monday and you're talking tomorrow, and now
tomorrow.
you guys, boom, are just connected. That is fantastic. I love it. Greg, over to you.
Well, how can you top that, right? I mean, how can you top that? Um, I moved. I will forward this news to Deborah. She's a very private, quiet person, as you well know, Val, and I think she'll fall off her chair when she hears that, and she will be absolutely thrilled. I mean it. That someone who cared reached out to her to comfort her and to pray with her. It just doesn't get better than that. There's so many things that we need to talk about and follow up on for sure. Probably on Val Olson Twitter Spaces reprise, another episode where we definitely need to debrief of all of this. Also, probably give an update on our Happy Smiles Fund. And I don't know if it's coming up to time, but I do know the pastor's got to do another radio show. So just do a little check in there that no matter what, I'm set and done. My fait accompli. Comme on dit en Quebec. How you say in Quebec? Fait accompli. The show was a miracle to me. And once again, turn it back to that awesome host, Val Olson at valolsonnews.com, to take it from here.
Well, I really appreciate both of your time today because you gave me lots of little nuggets. I love the family stuff. I have a 17-year-old, and I think that's a really cool thing to do with your boys. And so I'd like to do that sometime with my family. I think that's just awesome. Those are the kinds of memories that I think stick with you forever. So thanks for those nuggets. And Pastor Rios, anything else you want to share before you leave? The floor is yours anytime. I mean, after we turn the microphones off, you can come back anytime you want. But anything you want to close us out with?
Well, I want to say thank you for just the opportunity. Greg, thank you again for the opportunity of meeting Val and this connection, and I'm just looking forward to just being a part of any conversations that are going to bring a smile to somebody's face. I think that's what's exciting about even this. Like, I jumping on a conversation, and next thing you know, I'm going to be able to have the chance to pray with a friend of mine's wife that is, about to go into a situation that is, going to be a challenging space, and just making another connection with another media person that is making an impact. That's real. That's wanting to not just gather followers and listeners, which is part of that's part of this space, but that is just truly sincere of what we're doing. I think that's the shift that has got to happen in our world, and I don't want to be ugly or mean towards people that have taken advantage of the media space. I just want to be able to get into conversations to try to help them understand, like, we are in a day and age where people are looking for authenticity, and they're looking for real people that will just tell the truth, and tell the truth in love, and and also energize them. I think that's what is connecting me with Mike. And so I would love to circle back around, and we'll get the happy smile stuff completed, and they'll be able to go to our web page and give to that. And like I said, 100% of everything that comes in will go towards helping us give back to a friend that's making an impact in people's lives. So thank you for what you're doing, Val. Thank you, Greg, for what you're doing. You guys are heroes to me, for your passion. And so I'm honored to be with you guys, and I'll throw it back at you.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's a wrap today. The truth is easy to sell.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. We keep it there.
Hey, Val.
ValOlsonNews.com. Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Val. Great sign up. You just had to say that. The truth is easy to sell. I'm gonna, of course, get in the last word, just like one of my twins, right? You just got to get the last word in. But want to reach out to the pastor on this as a sign off. Is he mentioned something that I've been wrestling with for 40 years, and I've written about it a lot. He mentioned the word success, and and he doesn't kind of want to be thought of that way, and whatever the message I want to give is success. That's just sales. Being a good salesperson, a good marketer. Your product is God, but if you're a great marketer, a good salesperson, that's the whole point. Is you're spreading the word, because, as Val knows, I think this is the first you've heard me say this, Pastor, is I think I'm all about sales. I've been analyzing it forever, and I'm really, really good at what I do. I'll just tell you that. But I think that life is about sales. Sales is transferring a message or passion. And I think Jesus, if I really look at it, just caricature wise, I think Jesus was the greatest salesperson of all. I'd probably describe him as a network marketer, because he knew he had to get disciples, 12 people, got to close the door here. He knew he had to expand his network, and so he hired 12 salespeople. So if on that end, I encourage the pastor, I encourage Val Olson and everybody else, don't be afraid. As Anne Rule used to say, my author friend, don't be afraid to toot your own horn. Or, of course, to sell your books or sell your message or whatever. Because you know what Anne Rule said to me? Greg, because no one else will. No one else will if you don't toot your own horn. So with that, I hope to cut loose the pastor. I hope to cut loose Val into an incredible year in 2023 of sales. So there you go. I got the last word in.
All right. GregMeekin.com. Jesus is my general. Thank you, Pastor Rios. And you can visit ValWilsonNews.com for more.